Lawmakers investigating the January 6th insurrection face a roadblock of sorts in their efforts to get a former ally, President Trump, or former President Trump's allies to testify more than a week after subpoenaing former Trump aide Dan Scavino. The House Select Committee has been unable to physically serve that subpoena to Scavino. They can't find him. Which is remarkable. Mind you, the subpoena set a deadline of tomorrow to comply with requests for documents, and another next week for deposition. CNN law enforcement correspondent Whitney Wild joining us now. So there's a question of how does this impact the committee, but also it's just sort of, leaves you scratching your head. They can't find Dan Scavino. Yeah.
Exactly. Where in the world is Dan Scavino? So the timeline here is impacted a little bit because, as you had mentioned, the deadline for documents is tomorrow. However, the deadline for depositions isn't for another 9 days. So there's still, a lot of time to bring him in and actually depose him. So the timeline, while not ideal for House investigators, is not stretched too far at this point. If we get to October 14th and they still can't find him, that's going to be a bigger problem for them. The indication right now, though, is that many people who have been subpoenaed are planning to comply. We know that people who were part of the rally organization, for example, sources telling us that they plan to comply. We already know that the on-site supervisor, who was the head of security that day, the private security for the event, plans to comply as well. So other people are out there taking this very seriously. It's just an inability to nail down where Dan Scavino's physical body is in this moment to actually hand him the papers, which, as you mentioned, is kind of baffling because other people seem to have received these.
Well, and also someone who's, ubiquitous on social
right,
media, but they can't find him when
they
need to serve him legal papers. Whitney Wild, thanks very much. Joining me now to discuss is Ambassador Norm Eisert. He's former House Judiciary Special Counsel in former President Trump's first impeachment trial, and Richard Painter. He's former White House ethics lawyer. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you here. I wonder, when you look at this Scavino case, are you concerned that folks involved in this can stonewall the investigation, right? Delay, hide, not testify immediately, challenge in court. Start with you, Norm. You got a lot of experience here.
Jim, thanks for having me back on the program. They can run, but they cannot hide. This is not the Trump administration, where the president could embark on a stonewalling campaign backed by bogus claims of executive privilege, and then a Justice Department that wouldn't enforce the law, creating impunity for those 4 years, Jim. Here, you're gonna, you have strong precedents that we helped establish in the McGahn case for testimony, and in the Mazars case for documents. Those are going to be enforced by Congress, and DOJ will weigh in as well. So no, they cannot stall like they did under Trump.
And we should note to folks who are watching, Norm, you served under Democrats. Richard, you served under Republicans, and you're part of a bipartisan group, former public officials and lawyers who are zeroing in particular on this memo by the pro-Trump attorney John Eastman, which really laid out an action plan, right, for how then President Trump might overturn the election with the help of then Vice President Mike Pence. In your letter to the California bar, you say the available evidence supports a strong case that the state bar should investigate whether in the course of representing Mr. Trump, Mr. Eastman violated his ethical obligations as an attorney by filing frivolous claims, making false statements, engaging in deceptive conduct. I mean, basically, he'd get kicked out of the bar there. But Richard Painter, is that the most we can hope in terms of legal consequences for someone like Eastman, given what he's trying to do here?
I hope not, and I have repeatedly urged that the Department of Justice appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the events after the election leading up to January 6th. And that includes an investigation of President Trump's lawyers, members of the House and Senate, and White House officials involved with the insurrectionist edition of January 6th. Attorney General Garland needs to appoint a special prosecutor. But until then, we will do what we can to hold those who participated in these events responsible. We know what Donald Trump wanted. He wanted to pressure the Vice President of the United States to reverse the election results, incited a crowd outside the Capitol, and now we see Donald Trump's lawyer drafting a memo that it seemed to be aimed at the same result. And I've worked for many years on the issue of when lawyers are responsible for their clients' conduct. My first law review article was on the responsibility of lawyers for client conduct. I believe Mr. Eastman crossed the line, but that is something for the California bar to investigate, and the facts are set forth in our complaint.
I mean, he's one piece, a big piece of what appears to be a larger plot here. Ambassador Eisen, we're 9 months out from January 6th. And you have a number of the folks who stormed the Capitol facing legal consequences, but not the ringleaders, right? And I just wonder, are we exposing here that the system is not up to the task of policing this? By the way, meanwhile, Donald Trump is again the putative nominee for the Republican Party in 2024.
Well, Jim, to make sure that the system is up to the task of protecting our elections and protecting our democracy in a bipartisan way, as you see with me and Richard, that's why we came together in the States United Democracy Center that organized and filed this bar complaint against Eastman, and all across the country. We are working to shore up by pushing back on sham audits, by litigating against these terrible voter hijack bills that are in the states, Jim. Our States United Democracy Center working together. My co-chair is Republican Governor Christy Todd Whitman. These are not partisan issues. Our democracy is under assault because our elections are under assault. And starting with the Eastman complaint and much, much more, we're doing something about it.
Richard Painter, before we go, are any of the senior officials, including the former president, but others who helped and aided this plot, going to face charges for this, right? Or will it be another instance of a lot of sound and fury, but no actual action?
Well, the prosecutor down in Atlanta is looking at state charges against Donald Trump, I believe, for solicitation of election fraud. But once again, the Department of Justice does need to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the former president and those working for him. I will note that I was a Republican for 30 years, and one of the most important accomplishments of the Republican Party was the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment disqualifies from public office anyone who has supported an insurrection, such as what happened during January 6th at the Capitol on January 6th. Donald Trump is disqualified from public office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and the Justice Department needs to appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute everyone involved in the events of that day. We should not have to deal with his candidacy in 2024.